Isn't it curious how bubble tea seems to be one of these food items truly dividing humanity? Plenty of people actually love the taste and the textural variety that bubble tea gives you, especially, with bubbles, while to others, bubble tea is an unbearable punishment for the exact same reason. Me, as a self-proclaimed food diplomat, I'm somewhere right in the middle. If it's good tea and it's not too sweet, I actually really love it. Plus, I recently learned that hot bubble tea is, dare I say, better than cold even. This, by the way, is certainly not the good kind of bubble tea. I just really needed a prop for the intro, okay? But here's the thing. My biggest gripe with bubble tea is that while I actually really enjoy the flavor, as long as it's good, I don't particularly enjoy chugging like a half liter of milky stuff. It's almost like something that you want to be a snack actually becoming more of a whole meal in itself. But then I had an idea and started playing around with a recipe that combines bubble tea and boba with one of my all-time favorite desserts, which is egg tarts. These egg tarts are originally Portuguese, but they're also a thing in a lot of other places that Portugal colonized back in the day, like for example, Macau and China. And you know what? After a couple of rounds of testing, I actually managed to develop a stupid easy recipe that surprisingly works really well and does indeed give you bubble tea flavored and boba textured egg tarts that might be able to convince even the fiercest of bubble tea critics. Still terrible. And if you want to know how easy this really is, look at that. That's all the ingredients we're gonna need, but let's talk about this one first. This is puff pastry, and yes, it is obviously store-bought. Now, we're gonna make our egg tarts in a muffin pan, so you're gonna need a cookie cutter or just a cup that's about 1 centimeter wider on each side to punch out our puff pastry circles. Now, if you really want to impress someone, you can make puff pastry yourself, of course. Be my guest if you're up for that. It's only gonna make things better, but let's be realistic. We're all gonna buy puff pastry and be done in 5 minutes rather than 5 hours. All right, now grease your muffin pan lightly and try to carefully get your circles in there. It's gonna feel a little awkward at times, but hey, I believe in you. You can do it. And also, if you prefer a slightly cleaner look, you can certainly pinch the excess dough a bit so it looks a little less messy, but hey, that's just optics. Do make sure to keep this in the fridge while we work on the rest of our recipe. All right, now let's get to the actual tea part of the bubble tea egg tart recipe. You're gonna need some loose leaf Earl Grey tea. I think this variety works best because it really has an intense black tea fragrance that will be able to cut through a whole lot of sugar and other stuff. It's really important though to steep that tea in what's gonna seem like a ridiculously small amount of piping hot water for about 5 minutes before you strain it in whatever way seems to work best. We really need this to be very strong, to the point where it's kind of undrinkable. And while that's steeping, you can actually separate 5 eggs. We're only going to need the yolks for this recipe, but be sure to keep the egg whites. Those will come in very handy if you want to get swole, very much unlike the boba egg tarts we're making. So now let's mix our tea concentrate with the secret ingredient, sweetened condensed milk. It really is such a great shortcut for these. Give everything a brief stir to incorporate everything, then add our egg yolks, a bit of cornstarch, and a good pinch of salt. Now give everything a thorough mix until you get a smooth and pretty runny texture. Don't worry about that. And we can finally move to what's gotta be the hero ingredient, tapioca pearls or boba. You buy them dry at the Asian grocery store, and because there are so many different types, you just have to follow the cooking instructions on the back, which are probably going to be a little bit off, but hey, you'll figure it out. I also let mine sit in sugar beet syrup overnight. It's gonna give them that nice and brown color as well as a sweet caramelly touch. You can now get your egg tart shells out of the fridge, and first thing, cover the bottom of each tart with roughly 1 tablespoon of boba. Also, is it just me or does boba really look like oversized caviar for sugar addicts? Then our almost final step will be to simply give our mixture a fresh stir and then fill our tarts about 3/4 of the way. Be sure not to overfill because between the eggs and the puff pastry, these things will rise quite a bit. Once you're done, pop them in the oven, which you're gonna preheat to 200 Celsius. Pop them in there for about 30 minutes. All right, so our egg tarts have been sitting in the oven for half an hour and are looking beautifully golden and boba-licious in so many different ways. I like to carefully get mine out pretty early and make sure to let them cool down on a wired rack, which helps to not steam the bottoms and keep them nice and crisp. And let me tell you, crisp and flaky they truly are, even if you use store-bought puff pastry. Now let me guess, you want to see a cross-section, am I right? Okay. How about this? pretty intriguing, isn't it? I would like to tell you that I'm kind of proud of this recipe. They might not be much of a looker, to be honest, but these egg tarts actually taste exactly like you would imagine a bubble tea egg tart to taste like, and I am really digging it. And I'm actually not alone with that. The team enjoyed them as well, which honestly doesn't happen every single time. Yeah, this was definitely an outside the box recipe that they were very excited to try, and I did not disappoint. And I think now it's your turn to try them. You can even adapt the recipe and make whatever flavored egg tarts, and they're gonna taste delicious. And as always, if you do cook them, please make sure to snap a picture, put it up online, tag me. I always love seeing your guys' creations. And with that said, thanks for watching, and I'm gonna see you in the next one.